Welcome back to my channel, Farmer Info with Shubhashish. Now today, in continuation to our previous last video and all, today we'll see, as I said in my last video, that okay, we are done with the making of peptides, right? We have not made any kind of non-peptides through combinatorial concept and all, but still, anyway, but we have seen the technique or the principle involved in making all those compounds, how it is operated rather. Okay, when we are opting this combinatorial chemistry, the concept of combinatorial chemistry, how things need to be carried out, right? That we have seen in my last video, right? Now today we'll see that after we are done with the making and all, then we are usually in case of organic synthesis, be it of any chemical compound, once you are done with the making and all, then it requires to be elucidated. It requires to be determined, right? Now, shall we opt the same process? The question is, shall we opt the same process or same techniques, the spectroscopy technique which we are opting in non-normal conventional making and all? Or there are some additional things? Yes, the principle remains same because we are in the hunt of making what chemicals, right? The chemicals are characterized by means of spectral study and all. We have with us, first and foremost, the UV, then IR. Then if the resolution is not that much, okay, then we can go for this. If the compound is found to be very tiny in nature, then we'll just go for FTIR. Then accordingly, like mass spectrometry, then your NMR, right? We have several facets of NMR, several types of NMR. We have 1H NMR, 13C NMR, then we have 2D NMR as well. So these are all these things are there, right? These things are there. Okay. In combinatorial chemistry also, once you are done with the making and all, then we are opting these techniques. Okay, but in a bit modified way. In a bit modified way. Why I am telling all these things? Because what we are expecting to elucidate or to determine the structure when it's still with the bit. That means when the compound is with the bit, in that state only we are just trying to elucidate the structure. Why? Because the bit is not having any connection. The bit is unable to alter the chemical feature of the compound. So it's better that when the compound is still with the bit, it's better if we can come up with some technique with which we can elucidate the structure. It's better to elucidate there itself. It's better to undergo that particular study there itself, right? Okay, and that is the thing they are doing, right? Okay. Now we know that techniques are there which are meant for elucidating the structure of non-peptides. Techniques are there which are used to determine the structure of peptides, and we have few techniques which are exclusively for both the things, like peptides as well as non-peptides, right? The general things, like general spectral techniques and all, right? So now let's move on that the structural elucidation or structure determination or the determination of the active structure. As I said, if say for example, if we are dealing with a mixture of compound and that too in a single vessel, right? So in that case, first and foremost, you have to go for the isolation, okay, or the separation, right? So once things will get separated, then only you are in a position to that means the isolation followed by identification. But for this parallel synthesis, as we know that the compound is the single compound is being held by a single bottle, so that means in a single vessel you'll find a single product, right? In that case, okay, conventional approach can be done. That means without going for isolation, we'll straightway get the structure or determine the structure. But once we are dealing with this mix and split method, as we have seen in my last video, right? So their mixture of compounds are there in a single vessel. So that means first and foremost we have to go for isolation. That means through chromatography and all we can go for isolation, right? And the second and subsequently all those isolated products need to be characterized by means of spectral study or the studies which are available, which are given or which are recommended for this combinatorial chemistry and all, right? Okay. So now let us see that what are the methods which are available for these non-peptides, right? Okay. Some special methods. So we have with us a technique called, so the topic under which this particular things are coming, this determination of the structure, determination of the synthesized structures which are born out of combinatorial concept, right? Chalo. The first one is the molecular tagging. So we'll discuss another one, that is photolithography. Photolithography, right? So first one is your molecular tagging, the second one is your photolithography. We'll see one after another, right? So first we'll see molecular tagging. So molecular tagging is a technique in which a special type of linker is used. Why? Because here the compound is formed. Especially this particular technique is meant for what? Elucidating or determining the structure of non-peptides, right? So suppose we are making non-peptides with the help of so many reagents, and you just want to have, you just want to monitor the event, right? That means, and while monitoring, you should know that what are the reagents which are involved in making that particular compound and in which step those were employed. And for that very reason only, you have to keep a monitor. You have to take the help of multiple monitors, right? It's not a single monitor, multiple monitors, okay? And multiple monitors, they are engaged in monitoring a particular step. The step as well as what are the events that are involved in that particular step, right? So that means you need a molecular tag. With that, you can get to know about the steps as well as the kind of reagents which were introduced in those particular steps, in respective steps rather, right? So that means both the things need to be held by a common support, right? So here the linker is found to be a modified one, because not only the reagent, not only the compound under interest need to be held by this linker, but also it should hold the amino acids. It should hold the molecular tag. I'll not come into it. Amino acid. The molecular tag which are used here is nothing but amino acid or nucleotides, right? Okay, these are the two options that are there with us, right? Either amino acid or nucleotides. Every one after another. In each and every step, you have to add a single amino acid which represents or decoding that particular amino acid. You will get to know what kind of reagents that were introduced in that particular step, right? Okay, chalo. So now, as I said, key molecular tag they are using as amino acid. Okay, that should be held by this particular linker. At the same time, the growing non-peptide, the various reagents which are used in making that particular non-peptide, they should be placed on a particular functional group, and the functional group is nothing but is a part and parcel of the linker, right? Chalo. So now let's see that the kind of linker, that the modified linker that is used in molecular tagging technique, right? So in molecular tagging, the linker is used that is called SCAL. So what is that SCAL? So how it goes first? Let's just make you understand with the help of a single reaction, right? Okay. The one which I'll come to it, SCAL, I'll come to it. And why the linker should be a modified one. There should be a different one than that of the conventional linkers, right? Okay, I'll just come to it. So as I told that, you were adding what? You were adding the different reagents, right? And you should have a track on those insertion or that means each and every reagents, when they are used or when they are introduced, some monitor should be there which will just see to it that what kind of reagents are used in which step, right? And for each and every step, there should be multiple monitors or multiple, that means something which can have a track on that particular event, right? Chalo. So now, suppose so that means the linker should be like this. Should provide two functional groups. One for the compound under study, that means the one which you are going to make, and the other for the amino acids which are acting as a molecular tag. This is for amino acids or nucleotides. But what they are asking us, they are strongly recommending that better to stick to this amino acid rather than nucleotides. Why? Because the nucleotides are not found to be that much stable. Because nucleotides, it's a plural things. That means if in each and every step you have to add a nucleotide. That means multiple nucleotides are there. And at this very moment we are unable to figure out that how many steps are there. Okay, suppose ki 7 to 8 steps are there. That means you need 7 to 8 nucleotides, right? And all should be connected. Because after going for DNA sequencing only, you can unfold the mystery lies within this within the making of this non-peptides, right? Chalo. So that means the linker should have multiple functional group. Okay. So how it goes, how we can proceed with this. So now let's see. Let's move on, right? Okay. So now let's see that how the reaction will go. So we are going to make what? A non-peptide. Suppose the non-peptide is found to be an alpha haloaliphatic acid. I'm sorry. The different reagents that we are going to use, the first reagent is found to be an alpha haloaliphatic acid. Alpha halo. That means in alpha carbon we have a halogen. We have a halogen, right? And that too a carboxylic acid, aliphatic carboxylic acid. That means RCHCOH. So here we have to put one halogen. Right? I'll just put it like this. Br. So this is alpha haloaliphatic acid. Okay. First you need to connect it. You need to connect it to the connect this to the linker, right? Okay. So the linker which we have used here is having two functional group. And see, this is found to be orthogonal in nature, right? They are perpendicular to each other. This particular process is going on here, and this is going on here. You keep adding what? You keep adding this amino acids here. This is found to be orthogonal, right? That means they are not found to be correlated. We cannot correlate them, right? Okay, chalo. So now what will happen? So NH, definitely this will just approach the C terminal, right? This will approach the C terminal. I'll just write it in a different way, right? So that things can be readily graspable to you, right? So I'll just write it in this way. HOOC, CH. I'll just put it here NH2 and here R. Now you may raise a question, why NH2 has remained as such when there is two, the C terminal, N terminal. Okay, for your convenience, I'll just make it NHF mock. Because we are in the combinatorial chemistry, right? Okay, I should not write it like a novice, right? Okay, chalo, so NHF mock. So now what will happen? So what can be expected here? This is the expectation, right? So that means there is removal of a single molecule of water, right? And merging will take place, right? So it is the merging that will brought them close together, that will bring them close together, like NHCO, CH like this, right? So what next? As I have added this alpha halo acid, that means who will track? Who will monitor this event? It is the AA1, that means NHAA1. I have added the first amino acid to it, right? Okay. So that means NHAA1. Okay, I have added to the other part of the linker. That means the other side which is holding another functional group, right? Okay. So this is found to be the molecular tag. So after going for this amino acid sequencing and all, if we just ask the A1, it corresponds to alpha halo acid. Okay, alpha haloaliphatic acid. Now I'm not supposed to write here NHF mark. Why? Because I forgot to tell you, as I told you that alpha halo, right? I should put here halo, right? I'm sorry for this mistake and all, right? Okay. So this was like this, right? NHF mark. If it is NHF mark amino acid, okay, we can just straightway. It's not an amino acid, it's alpha halo acid, right? Straightway. Because we are no longer stick to this. Definitely, we no longer will stick to this this amino acid, right? This has been alpha halo. So now the first reagent has been added. The second one, that means accordingly, and in the subsequent step, we have added one amino acid. What next? Let us bring the second reagent now. The second reagent is found to be an amine, right? Definitely the amine will find this place for its attachment. By removing this Br, definitely the H will go on here. So there is a formation of like this, right? That means subsequently what need to be done? Like this, A2, having this either C terminal or N terminal open, right? Okay, chalo. Now let us bring the another reagent, right? Another reagent. Why? Because still we can perform go with the, say, we can consider this as an intermediate. Why? Because still reaction is possible, right? Okay, so now let us bring another halide, right? Or rather aryl or aliphatic oil halide, something like R double prime COCl. Will it react with this? Will it react to this? Definitely. We have a replaceable hydrogen and chloro. So what will happen? Definitely we can find like this, right? And subsequently we have to add the third amino acid, AA3. Got my point? And then what next? Reading the sequence, you can readily get to know how many steps which are involved in this particular reaction. And who all are there? Who all are representing the respective steps and all. Who all are there in each and every steps, right? That means AA1 corresponds to the alpha halo aliphatic acid. AA2 corresponds to the primary amine. AA3 corresponds to the aliphatic oil halide or acyl halide, what we can say, right? So this is the way the reaction is going on, right? Okay, with the help of this molecular tag. Now let's see that at the very beginning I have written one, an example of a linker, right? The linker is nothing but SCAL, safety catch acid labile linker. So what is that safety catch acid labile linker? SCAL, safety catch acid labile linker. Safety catch acid labile link. So as I said, the linker should hold or should have two active functional group, one for the growing non-peptide, the other for the growing molecular tag, right? Okay. Now let us see how it looks, SCAL, right? Let us just try to figure it out, how it looks. Actually, in safety catch acid labile linker, it is basically a combination of two amino acids. One is found to be tyrosine, the other one is found to be lysine. Now let's see how they look. So we have something like this, NHCO. Okay, then we have a CH. To this CH, the amino is there. For the time being, I'll just circle it out, right? This is one of the amine, right? I'll just circle it, right? And then, so beneath this we have 4CH2 followed by NH. Why? Because as I told you that it's a combination of two amino acids, right? One is your lysine, the other one is your tryptophan, right? So we are done with this lysine part, like alpha carboxylic group, then we have alpha amino group followed by like this, and we have an NH. So we up to this, this is the portion which is attributed to lysine, right? So this is your lysine. Now moving on to the next part, that is it is connected to C double bond O, which is further connected to methylenic moiety, that is 4-methylenic moiety. Okay, and then we have an oxygen here, and then we have a phenyl. Okay, to this phenyl, okay, we have another phenyl like this, and here we have a sulfoxide group. Okay, or we can say methyl sulfinyl. You can also call it as methyl sulfinyl. Okay, here we have the same thing, methyl sulfinyl, right? And after that we have to move on like this. So here we have NH, and then we have C double bond O, and finally so this is C double bond O, and then this is another amino group, and after that we have to put one CH2, and then the next one, that is your indole, right? So with that we are done with the total structure of SCAL, safety catch acid labile linker, right? So this is another amino group. As I told you that on top of this tryptophan, the growing non-peptide, you can find the growing non-peptide, whereas this is for what? Whereas this amino is for what? The molecular tag. That means it keep on accepting the amino acid, right? And each and every amino acid has something to say at the end of the reaction. Has something to say. What does it mean? That means it will reveal that the kind of reagent, okay, that was introduced in the respective steps, right? Okay, chalo. And this is found to be the amino group. This is found to be other amino. So these two are the amino group. That means these two are the active functional group which is provided by the linker for both the reaction to grow. That means a reaction under the study, and accordingly you are going to add what? And you are adding what? The amino acids. Or else, say apart from amino acid, the other thing that you can add up to this say is nucleotide, but quite often it is the nucleotide. They are found to be the least preferable than that of amino acid. Why? Because of the stability. The stability factor is an issue, right? And that is why most of the time it is the amino acid which are acting as a molecular tag rather than this, right? Okay. And finally, once you are done with the preparation and all, or making of the non-peptide and all, then you have to separate them. No, the separation has to be done by reducing this sulfoxide moiety under acidic condition. Okay, and after that, once things got separated, then you have to analyze what? You have to analyze the amino acid A1, A2, A3, right? Like this, right? So with this amino acid sequence, you can readily get to know, and this particular sequence has to be given to the gas chromatography. The gas chromatography it is the gas chromatogram that will tell you that in what that will tell you about what are the reagents that were introduced in making the compound called X, and in what and how many steps, okay, the reactions involved, the making of that particular X involved how many steps and all, and in each and every step what are the different reagents that you have used, okay, that is being delivered, that is being unveiled by each and every amino acid. Okay, so this is all about your Septic-Hatch acid-Levy linker. Now one more thing is that, see, the thing is that Septic-Hatch acid-Levy linker, okay, it can serve as a multiple linker, right? Okay, that's true. Okay, it can assist the process of structure determination, okay, especially the non-peptides and all. But the thing is that, as you have just experienced, okay, this much huge the structure is at the same time, and that means it requires what? An elaborate instrumentation. Okay, an elaborate instrumentation is required, and of course a skilled personnel is required, right, for the proper function to flow. So that is why nowadays it has been found that Septic-Hatch acid-Levy linker, okay, it is found to be used, okay, but the use is not that much frequent, right? But anyway, we can say that yes, molecular tagging is robust rather. Now let us move on to the next technique with which we can also get to know about the structure which has been formed, be it an amino acid or a non-amino, be it a peptide or a non-peptide. Both the things can be can be determined with the help of this. The technique is called photolithography. Photolithography. What exactly they are doing in photolithography? Actually, here a plate is used, right? A plate of immobilized solid support is used. A square plate. Suppose this is found to be the plate, right? Square plate, right? On which a solid support which is found to be immobilized has been kept on it, over it, right? Solid support, that means resin bed is there, okay? And in each and every point of this particular plate, a photolabile linker is placed. That means once it will get exposed to the photon, that means light, it will get deprotected, and subsequently you can go for the reaction, you can go for the addition, right? So here the amino group which is protected with NVOC, NH-NVOC, or I should say simply I can write NVOC. NVOC is found to be the protecting group which will protect what? An amino group. So NVOC is what? Nitroveratriloxycarbonyl. So veratrile is, let me just tell you what exactly veratrile is. So veratrile is something like this. So this is found to be the veratrile, right? Nitroveratriloxycarbonyl. Okay. Meta to this we have a nitro group O2N, and here veratrile-oxycarbonyl. It is something like this, right? So this is the group which is protecting what? The NH. And let me tell you, this NVOC is found to be photolabile, right? So in each and every location, in each and every point, what? This has been planted. This NH along with a protecting group has been planted, right? A similar dimension, masks are used. Masks. For what? for the record. Each and every mask has been given a particular number, and from the number of the mask we can readily track that what kind of reagent and in which location the reaction was going on. Okay? The reaction were performed in which location? I'll just come into it, right? So, on top of this plate, we are using different mask. And for each and every mask, a particular region has been perforated. Suppose that on top of it, I am just, aligning a particular mask like this, in which this is the region which is found to be exposed or perforation has been made. So that means this is the region of this particular mask. I have just named it like 1, okay, in which this is the region where the perforation is there, the hole is there, the region where the subsequent reaction is likely to be taking place, right? Okay, chalo. So likewise, I am using several masks until I am done with all the points and all, right? Because in each and every point, NVOC is there, right? So that is why I need to use separate mask, and in each and every mask, suppose I am bringing here, I have brought here 1, and the next and the moment I am bringing the next mask, you won't find the perforation to be here, rather the perforation has been shifted from here to here. So what can be expected? After using this mask, this is the region which was utilized by me for the making of either peptides or non-peptides, right? So suppose I am using here, I am just aligning the first mask, the mask number 1. So this is the area which is found to be exposed, right? The moment I am just bringing it, in contact, bringing it in open air, right? What will happen? Under the influence of light, the NVOC will get deprotected, leaving behind simply NH2. And now I am just going to add the first amino acid, the first reagent. As I told, that whether it is irrespective of peptides or non-peptides, both can be determined with the help of this photolithography. Photolithography, that means the photon is involved here. What this photon will do, the photon is, that means light in the form, that means photon in the form of a light, okay, will deprotect the nitrovarate trioxycarbonyl, okay, and so that this is the NH2 will get exposed to the reagents. Now if I keep adding the reagent, what will happen? Definitely, suppose I am just subsequently, the moment this will get deprotected, NH2 is found to be now open, right? Open for the reagent, okay, to accept. So I am just adding AA1, okay. What will happen? NHAA1, then I am adding AA2, right? And with that I am done with the reaction, right? So with that I am done with the reaction. Now I am bringing the second, the mask, right? In which definitely this is the region which is found to be closed, whereas the immediate neighbor will get open, right? This is the area which gets open, right? So now what will happen? Again, bringing it to the in contact with light, what will happen? The NVOC will get deprotected, okay? The moment NVOC will get deprotected, what will happen? It is vulnerable to the reaction, right? The reaction. So accordingly, as per my design and all, I'll bring the different amino acids and grow the peptide, okay? So once I am done with each and every point with the help of different masks and all, it is the number of masks that is nothing but acting as a record, right? Record. So what kind of reaction, okay, what kind of reaction that I did here, so that means in each and every location, what are the various reaction took place and what are the different reagents that were used, okay, that is being tracked by the different masks and all, right? Okay, now what next? Once we are done with the making of all the compounds and all, then the whole assembly, or rather the plate, the immobilized solid support will be incubated with a receptor, right? And definitely, preferentially, if the receptor is found to be fluorescently tagged, it will be fine. Why? Because so after a span of, say for example, 72 hours or 7 days, right? So what will happen? We are expecting that out of this, this pool of compounds, right? Few of them are found to be, few of those are found to be, biologically active, okay? And definitely the one which are found to be biologically active should fluoresce, and that the intensity of the fluorescence will tell us what? The potency of that particular compound, and that can be checked with the help of what? Fluorescence microscopy. So it is the help of fluorescence microscopy we can get to know about the intensity of the fluorescence. And it is the intensity that will tell you, okay, all are fluorescing, okay? Suppose we have 80 compounds, out of that 80 compounds, 40 are fluorescing. with that, at least you can just you can make a general conclusion. That is, 40 are found to be active, but you never know which one is found to be more active. For that, you have to do what? You have to do the fluorescence microscopy. You have to take the help of fluorescence microscopy, which will tell you, the intensity of the fluorescence will tell you that out of these 40 active compounds, which one is found to be most promising. Okay, so with that we can get to know, we can determine what the structure as well as whether that is biologically active or not. Got my point? So these are the two methods, okay, two mostly used method, like molecular tagging, at the same time photolithography, which are used in the determination of the active structure, which are generated out of combinatorial chemistry. Okay, now we know that we talked about this molecular tagging, we talked about this photolithography, right? Okay, they are helpful in dealing with the structure, the active structure, they can determine and all, right? But usually we should not ignore the contribution of this spectral study, okay, in revealing the structure, in elucidating the structure of an unknown compound, right? Okay, but all we want is just to elucidate the structure when it is still with the bead, right? Okay, so in that case, the conventional way, like your IR, can help us out. But the problem is that when we are expecting the compound should be elucidated when it is still with the bead, that means there is a chance that we should alter the conventional process of spectra. That means the spectral study in a different mode should be adapted, right? Like your IR, instead of IR, if we can use FTIR, right, then I think that the productivity is found to be good. Okay, why? Because say for example, the bead, the shape of the bead matters a lot, right? And it's found to be very tiny in nature, right? So if we just use the higher version, that is FTIR, so what will happen? And moreover, sometimes the beads are found to be flattened one, sometimes they are found to be spherical one, right? But if we just try to see the sensitivity, right, it is found, that means it is the flattened rather than the spherical beads, okay, which often gives us good signal, right, in case of FTIR. So FTIR is found to be one of the technique which is used here also, and it can reveal the functional groups when it is still functional groups of the compound which is synthesized out of this combinatorial concept and all, right? So FTIR is found to be one of them, and as I said, the sensitivity is found to be high when we are dealing with the flattened bit rather than the spherical bit, right? Okay, now after IR, but the thing is that after FTIR can only tell you about the functional group, right? It will not expose the compound in an extensive way, and for that very reason we have to take the help of NMR, right? NMR. But the problem is that the NMR requires only the compound, not the bit. If we just say that 1H NMR or 13C NMR, right? For that, I think that they are just because they cannot evaluate a compound, or they cannot characterize a particular compound when it is attached with a bit, and that to a solen one. That means solen means it has consumed more water, it seems, right? So that means one of the biggest problem with this conventional NMR is that when it is dealing with a particular compound born out of combinatorial concept, and that too attached to a bit, and that is found to be a solen one, okay, the peak broadening is found to be an issue, is found to be of concern, right? So peak broadening will interfere the process. So that means conventional NMR cannot characterize your compound, okay, when it is still there with the bit. So that means you need to separate your compound from the bit, then only it can be elucidated with the help of this conventional NMR, right? But in order to avoid this particular problem and all, that means okay, all we want is to characterize the compound when it is still with the bit. Why? Because we are just trying to make the process less cumbersome, right? So for that very reason, they have just modified the NMR process, right? So they have just brought another, they have just added another dimension into it, right? I'm not talking about two-dimensional at this very moment. I should say they have just brought another feature, right? So as to avoid the peak broadening, as the peak broadening is found to be one of the major issue, right? Why? Because peak broadening, why? Because we have to deal with the solen bit. If we are being enforced to characterize the compound when it is still there with the bit, that to a solen bit, the NMR process need to be modified, and the modified NMR is found to be the one which is used in combinatorial in determining the combinatorial products and all. They are found. This is found to be magic angle spinning NMR. So magic angle spinning NMR, right? So magic angle spinning NMR, in which they are just applying the compound at an angle of 55 degree, okay, within the magnetic field. So they are just applying the compound at an angle of 55 degree to the magnetic field, so as to avoid the peak broadening, right? So this is the one which is used to elucidate the structure of compounds which are born out of combinatorial chemistry, okay. That is magic angle spinning NMR, okay. Apart from this magic angle spinning NMR, we have two-dimensional, the 2D NMR, right, where they are using different type, they are using the magnetic fields, okay, the different you know, at different degree they are using the magnetic field and all. So because so in case so this is found to be the one of them, magic angle spinning NMR. The other NMR which are also of use are of 2D NMR, right, like your noisy, then Roisy, all these things are there, like your nuclear Overhauser spectroscopy, and we have noisy, Roisy, okay, these are all there, right, these are all there. There's 2D NMR, right, so which are also used in used to determine the structure of compounds, okay, which are attached to the big, right, and definitely which are obtained from combinatorial concept, right. So now this is all about your NMR and all. Now let us move to the another, you know, spectral process technique, that is called mass, right. So mass spectrometry, okay, it is widely used, okay, basically in the determination of the structures, okay, which are obtained out of combinatorial chemistry and all, right. So we have different techniques of mass which are used here, that is used in combinatorial chemistry for the determination of the structure. They are found to be, first one is electrospray ionization, right, electrospray ionization. So what exactly they are doing in electrospray ionization? In electrospray ionization, a solution containing the compounds, right, suppose a solution, okay, in that compound is here, your compound is here, okay, that need to be passed through a mass spectrometer, okay, that need to be, suppose this is found to be the mass spectra, right, this is found to be the mass spectra, right, this is the chamber, right. So a solution in which your compound is there is passed through a mass spectrophotometer, okay, by an electrically charged capillary. So with the help of, as the, see here they are telling that electrospray, right, how the spray can be done? Spray can be done with the help of a capillary, and the capillary is found to be electronically charged capillary, right. So with the help of an electronically charged capillary, they are just introducing the sample which is there in a particular solution, okay, which is dissolved in a particular solvent in the form of a solution, right, has to be introduced. So that means with the help of an electrically, we can say either of this you can take, electrically charged capillary, right, the sample is introduced, right. So once the sample is introduced, and as it is held by this capillary, okay, what happened? Now the droplets that emerge from the capillary bear what? The strong electric charges, right. The droplets, suppose you were just applying it with the capillary, right. So that means what can be expected? So the compound is there in the form of a solution, right, but it will get released in the form of droplets, right. So each and every droplets, they are what? They are bearing strong electric charges themselves, right. Okay, so that means they are literally explode, as each and every droplets which are associated with that particular solvent, they are found to be electronically charges, so they are literally explode, right, into smaller and smaller droplets. And finally, what we can expect? Eventually, we can expect what? Singly charged ions, and which are detected by the mass spectrometer, right? So this is happening in case of electrospray ionization. So they are using what? A capillary, electrically charged capillary, okay, through which the sample is inserted, right, and we are expecting what? All the droplets, those are there, right, they are literally found to be exploding, right, and once they explode, what will happen? They will, there is a formation of the smaller and smaller droplets, right, okay, so and eventually leads to a singly charged ions, right, and each and every ions, they are found to be detected by the mass spectrometer, right. So this is one of the technique which is so often used, right, in case of in the determination of the structures, right? Structures which are obtained from, or the compounds which are obtained from done with the first one, that is the frequently used one, that is electrospray ionization. Next we'll move another modified technique, modified mass technique, right, with which also we can deduce or elucidate the structure. That is found to be MALDI TOF, right? MALDI TOF. So MALDI is what? Matrix. M for matrix, A for assisted, L for laser, D for desorption, I for definitely we are expecting what? Ionization, right? Ionization. And TOF means time of flight. So what it is all about, let's see, right? As I said, key matrix assisted, okay, matrix assisted laser desorption or ionization, right? Laser desorption, matrix assisted laser desorption ionization, right? Okay, so what it means actually. Now here the sample under study, okay, under study is embedded in a solid matrix. Why? Because matrix is there. So here the sample is embedded in a solid matrix, and the matrix which they are using here is found to be 2,5-dihydroxybenzoic acid. Okay, what is that actually? So it is a derivative or analog of benzoic acid. 2,5 1 2 3 4 5 yes 5-dihydroxybenzoic acid. So here it is 2,5-dihydroxybenzoic acid, and then what? Then as it is embedded, and after that it is bombarded with a L for laser. So once the bombardment will take place, because in ionizing chamber, right, what will happen? Electronic bombardment will take place in case of mass, right? I'll come to it later, okay? In some other day I'll discuss mass, no problem at all. So after that what will happen? The moment it will get bombarded with the laser, okay? So some molecules are vaporized and as well as ionized. So few molecules are vaporized and ionized in a gentle fashion. Okay, so as a result of this, that allows the whole molecule ions of the sample to be analyzed, right? So what I told here, so as a result of this bombardment, some molecules are vaporized and ionized in a gentle fashion, and that allows the whole molecule ions of the sample. Got my point? Okay, now the thing is that now after that we have to go for the analysis. Now the analysis is done with the help of time of flight analyzer. So what is that time of flight? Time of flight means, suppose key, this is found to be the starting point, this is found to be the end point, right? And we have n number of members are there. One member is found to be strong enough, the other member is found to be weak enough, right? So that means the rate of, that means if we just try to figure out the velocity with which they are just reaching to their target point, is found to be definitely it will differ. Definitely this will differ, right? So with the help of this time of flight analyzer, so here the ions, suppose key one is weak, the another one is strong, like that. If you just simulate it, that means ions of different mass. One is healthy like me, the other one is lean like you, right? Something like that, right? So the ions of different mass travel different distances. So we are not expecting that a lean person will just cover up the entire distance. Whereas a strong, the healthy person like Virat Kohli, right? He can readily, cross or cover up the whole distance, right? So that means this is the duty of this time of flight analyzer. This will just monitor the event. This will just, analyze the event, right? So that means the ions of different mass travel different distances in a given amount of time. Okay? Suppose key, the time has been fixed here. Suppose you have to cover the entire distance in a span of 5 minutes. So we can expect that Virat Kohli being a healthy person, that means the very potential one can readily cross or cover the distance in a span of 5 minutes. But if you just see Venkatapati Raju, right, one of the ancient Indian spinner, right, leg spinner, right, okay, ancient spinner, right, okay, he used to use his leg, the left hand now, right. Okay, we cannot expect that Venkatapati Raju, okay, will cover the distance, this much distance in a span of 5 minutes, okay. Okay, definitely he falls short of time, right. Okay, so this is the case. So that means the time of flight analyzer, what it will analyze the different mass, different ions of different mass, right? Okay, and in a stipulated period of time, how much distance is traveled by them. This is being analyzed by this. So with this, we are done with what? Multi-TOF. We have some other, less used MS techniques are there, like your, secondary MS. Sometimes they are also called it as SIMS, right? SIMS is another technique, right? But it is found to be less used, okay? Less frequently used, right? So with that, we are done with what? The various techniques with which the structure can be elucidated, right? Okay, which are obtained from combinatorial concept. I think that with that, we are done with the combinatorial chemistry and all, okay? The solid phase synthesis, right? And let me in my next video I'll discuss about the solution phase synthesis, right? Solution phase synthesis. So thank you for your patience hearing and all. With that, I'm concluding my discussion, right? Hope you have enjoyed it. If you really enjoyed it, please don't forget to press the like button, right? And please put your valuable comment in the comment box and all. Your comments are very much important for me to grow as a YouTuber, right? Okay, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you.